I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm dumb, I'm ugly, I'm gay. Jesus, I was about to start dropping N-bombs. N-word! N-word! N-word!
Wouldn't it be funny if we said the N-word 76 times in a row?
It's because you're black.
Black people act the way they do because they have bumps in their skull.
You were forced to be gay, and Black Glory Hole Sunday mandated for everyone 12 and older.
Dude, you can just say
My point here ain't about criticizing folk.
I would not say that it is unethical for a person to purchase child pornography.
nice right now. We've all jerked at the lolly at some point or another.
This is our Vaush Iceberg, where we'll look at the controversies and drama around the political streamer Vaush. We'll start with the more well-known events and move into things that aren't as widely known. But before we start, let's introduce you to Vaush.
You know?
Vaush in his early streaming days was known as Irish Laddie and gained some of his first notoriety being a part of Destiny's community. He came onto his streams over the years and debated Destiny and debated other people on his stream. He would get one of his first bans from Twitch after suggesting something today many more might agree with.
Guess what? There's like 4 other countries which want to destroy Israel.
All very validly. Israel is a massive fucking economic and political threat to the countries in that area. You realize that all the nations in the Middle East have every reason to fucking hate Israel, right? Like, you realize the Middle East would be calmer if they succeeded and obliterated Israel, if they nuked it and wiped it off the map. That would lead to a more peaceful Middle East than one that exists right now.
The porn folder is likely Vaush's most well-known controversy.
You can see this is an example of the kind of structure that I'm referring to.
During a live stream, Vaush accidentally opened a folder on his computer labeled "To be sorted." It contained a lot of NSFW content and also a folder labeled "Taxes" too. What grabbed the attention of most was the problematic content within the folder. AI-generated bestiality involving horses and anime girls, and characters tagged as lolly, aka depicting minors. This incident went massively viral across social media platforms, garnering reactions from many creators. All the attention led many to look even further into Vaush and his past, and especially his sexual proclivities.
So I back in the day used to do a YouTube series where I played like shitty bad porn games and made fun of them. And there is a subculture of goblins. Like there's goblin fetishists on the internet. You can find games and all that bullshit. And
absolutely.
Let me tell you, you will never ever confuse it for children. Never in a million years. They are very, very different.
Isn't this the same argument of like, oh, this character that obviously looks like a 5-year-old is actually a 12,000-year-old demon? That's what I mistook it for. It's actually a goblin.
Literally the meme.
Well, yeah, it's literally the meme. You did the meme.
He's just absolutely coping. He got caught. He's saying stupid shit, and he's just trying to go with no. That's not what I thought it was. It was something else entirely. Ha ha ha.
He would have just been better off just owning up to it. Like, there's so many people in his audience that really wouldn't care. And care if it was actual, if he was into lolly. It is actually, if he was into lolly, it is actually. I talked about this on a previous episode of the podcast, like a year or so ago. I think I came out with a hot take that lolly is bad, like fundamentally horrible, and it only serves to normalize like CP and stuff like that. It is actually harmful to children because of that. And the amount of shit I got from the like audience for that opinion from like lolicon aficionados was just unbelievable. It was just like, holy shit, this is an actual sickness.
H3H3. Ethan and Helicline, hosts of the H3 podcast, dedicated multiple episodes to covering the Vaush porn folder controversy. During the first live stream, they joked about and criticized Vaush for the horse and lolly imagery, with Ethan also inviting him on to talk about the incident. The point of the stream seemed to look at the full clips and past controversies relating to Vaush and the incident, such as the consistent joking about horse penises and Vaush's previous statements surrounding the ownership of CP. Their videos brought more attention to the situation, significantly amplifying the story beyond niche internet circles. Now everyone had the pleasure of knowing the gross shit that Vaush gets off to.
Some people that just joined are like, what is Ethan wearing?
This is a Gumby outfit.
What?
Vaush just stopped washing because you took that off.
There's a new name for his community that I'm dubbing them.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
The Lollipops.
I like it.
And that's kind of the title that they've coined themselves by the tremendous amount of people that are defending lolly horsey play. What was in that folder that was a problem? There was a girl who looked 13. There was a girl who looked very young who was sucking off a horse. Is that a problem? I don't like that.
Some of these girls
It's
look
all,
pretty young. Okay.
It's all anime.
It's all drawn.
Clarify again, because
it's all drawn.
Yeah.
Lolly is apparently a topic of huge debate. The reason for that is that the consumption of this type of content normalizes and comforts people who would otherwise not even think about such things, or people who are more likely to act on their impulses or to go and buy actual CP to satisfy their sick desires. Go on, Vaush.
Some of these girls looked pretty young.
That's
We've
part
all
of
jerked at the lolly at some point or another.
Yeah, there it is. Drake and Vaush. What are we trying to say with this, Cam? Created by Dan Schneider. Somebody on the subreddit said, I'm telling Ethan right now, with all the peace and love, do not debate Vaush. Trust me, there's nothing to be gained. These accusations have been around forever, and this man is not a serious person. Debating him will only give him credibility, even if it's just a small amount. By all means, mock him all you want, but I can promise you this. If you platform this man, he will not come to talk to you in good faith, and he and his fans will not go away quietly. Please, Ethan, do yourself a favor and cut him off. Well, I appreciate your concern, but I was emphatically open to having him on. It's only fair, I thought. You know, the man should be able to come speak for himself, speak to my audience, speak to me, and defend himself. I said, you don't have to worry because I already invited him on, and he said no. He doesn't trust me to be good faith and not lie about him. This is stuff he told me in DMs. Isn't that the whole point of debate, to directly oppose my position? He responded by inviting me to call into his show, which I immediately accepted, and he changed his mind on that too.
Afterwards, Vaush would stream trying to clear things up, but also would double down on his love for things like furries and horses and other stuff.
The other one is like a threesome with 2 chicks and a guy. And in retrospect, looking at, knowing now that that artist is a lolicon, yeah, I can see it. When I looked at it, I think the vibe that I got was like short stack, thick kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the way like goblins get drawn in porn. You'll have to entertain me for a moment on this presumed shared knowledge of how goblins get drawn in pornography. But you know how they're all like thick short stacks, right? I'll make it clear. You can write this down. I want to fuck a woman as a horse. None of this is a secret. To be clear, you know, many jokes have been made about this, but I stand by it. My moral principles are rock solid. My feet are firmly planted in the ground. I've got my boots up. They're planted firmly. You cannot move me from my position. This isn't a secret. Let's talk to a therapist. Well, why do you want to be the horse, Vaush? Because then I'd have a giant dick. Okay, couldn't you have a big dick the other way? Well, yeah, I could. Like, yeah, I could have a big dick hypothetically in any variety of scenarios, but then it wouldn't really be a horse dick. Well, you could be a human with a horse dick. Yes, but then I wouldn't have that powerful stallion energy using it. There you go. That's it. That's the whole thing. I stream with no delay, and folks are always screen capturing the feed, so I knew the contents of my to be sorted folder and the preview window were irrevocably public knowledge. But to be honest, that didn't really bother me too much. It was embarrassing, sure, but mostly because it made me look like a careless idiot, not because I was ashamed of the, like, furry, demon, monster, GF, big dick porn stuff I knew I had in there. You know, I had rambled about liking all that stuff on stream before, not a secret, and I thought, you know, I like big dicks. Yeah, I was looking through drawn porn, like furry or hentai or whatever else. I saw big, well-drawn dicks. I thought, cool, and saved the drawings, then never looked at them again, as evidenced by the fact they are in a big dump folder literally called to be sorted.
Pastel. The leaked Discord messages between Vaush and Pastel included Vaush admitting that he found, quote, the concept of bestiality very hot, unquote, and explained in illicit detail the attraction to horses that he has. Some messages were initially revealed on a stream by Destiny. In an unsuccessful attempt to get around the drama, Vaush would go onto Destiny's stream to give his side of the story. Since that didn't help much, he also released all the DMs in a public apology with an explanation of his behavior. These messages shed a light onto Vaush's unfiltered mind and provides early documentation of his interests.
Pastel and I were talking to one another, and it became evident to me, a short time after I began speaking with them in the server, that they were interested in me sexually. This can be corroborated by the testimony of anyone who was there at the time. They were clearly interested in me, and I'm a horny bastard, so, you know, I reciprocated interest, because, yeah, why the hell not? So I engaged with them in flirtation, both publicly and privately, for a period of 1 or 2 weeks. It really wasn't that long of a time, until it became clear to me, through the testimony of others and through their own behavior, that Pastel was not emotionally or mentally capable of healthily engaging in any kind of flirtation with me, based on what I had seen from my interactions with them. So I decided to cut contact with them. Not full stop, block them and everything, but to distance myself from them to prevent harm from occurring, which I thought was the responsible decision to make at the time. Shortly thereafter, Poppy appeared on the server. I think they'd been a mod prior. I just hadn't seen her in the server prior. And what happened from that point forward, I can only interpret. I don't know. I can't read other people's DMs. But it seemed to me like Poppy and Pastel spoke with one another, and this encouraged Pastel to reframe the way in which they looked in our conversation and begin publicly accusing me of having engaged in misbehavior, of being sexually harassing towards Poppy. So the drama sort of came up again. I later had a conversation with Pastel over voice, and from the conversation I had, it seemed to me as though Pastel did not believe that I had engaged in impropriety with them, but it still stood to show that the drama had been engaged in once more. I was banned from the PolyChat server following that outburst of drama. When I was on Destiny's stream, I said that I had behaved cringily. I believe that I said, again, imperfect memory, that I had been at times a little creepy, that I had pushed boundaries, that I had been overly facilitated towards sexual conversation. And people called me a harasser, a sexual harasser. And I thought, no, I'm not a sexual harasser. I just did those things I just described. I just pushed boundaries. I just talked about sex maybe too much. I just was perhaps not as cognizant of the conversational partner's discomfort as I could have been. Do those things make me a sexual harasser? And I've thought about it over the past few days. The question seems a little leading. You can probably tell where I got. And the answer is that it doesn't really matter what I think. The logs are public. They're out there. People can see them. People have read them. And then they have accused me of engaging in sexual harassment.
Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen, the famous host of To Catch a Predator,
moving pretty quick there. Why don't you have a seat right over there? Okay.
Released a video statement about Vaush, telling him to cool it with the horse stuff. Probably just a paid cameo, but still pretty hilarious.
Hello, Vaush. You have to cool it with the horse stuff, pal. Look, I get it. We all have to push boundaries sometimes, but there are lines, and horses, well, that crosses one of my lines. Vaush, I'm not saying this to attack you. I'm just worried about you, please. No more horses. I'll be watching.
What's going on?
So, I'm asking you, I know these answers, but I'm asking you, okay? Why is it wrong to have child pornography?
And tonight, though, you were willing to come meet a 15-year-old.
Yep, it's just like the other 47 times this has happened.
Just laid it all out there. Not only does he admit what he's doing that night, he tells me he's got a history of doing this sort of thing.
Should consuming child porn be legal? I think that would be, yes, more legal and more ethically consistent. Yes, 100%.
You say, if you are ready for sex, I'll give it to you, but I have erectile dysfunction. Won't get real hard.
In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal.
That doesn't make it legal, though.
Oh, shit. People calling me a pedophile? That's a hot new one.
Here's this guy who's, middle-aged, who's not especially well-dressed, doesn't appear to have a lot of money in his pocket, is living with his parents, and maybe he should have help.
Tacoma Wept. This refers to when a person on Twitter was talking about Vaush not being able to get laid, in which he then took it personally and created one of the funniest clips he's ever been a part of.
Is this guy seriously saying that I can't get laid? Incredible, I'll give you 5,000 if you can get poontang before January 1st. Do you have any idea who the fuck you're talking to? Stroking as hard and fast as we can. When I got off Tinder because of the fucking quarantine, Tacoma wept. Even like ignoring the fact that I have a girlfriend, even if it's just fucking randos. I'm 2 hours away right now from being inside somebody else.
AOC. AOC in this context meaning the age of consent, and not everyone's favorite big booty Latina in Congress.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy.
Gonna explain the age of consent take? Yeah, I said that my thought at the time was that in the fucking communist future, in the glorious communist future, that you could justify having an age of consent of like 16 or whatever, which I think is what it is in the UK right now. The idea for that being that since economic exploitation is a huge metric for abusing children, if that was no longer a concern or a metric by which you could abuse people, it wouldn't be as much of an issue.
Horse lover. Vaush's documented interest in horses goes back to 2010 when he was just 16 years old. Forum posts from that year show him discussing horses in a sexual context. In 2012, Vaush participated in a Reddit AMA where someone admitted to engaging in bestiality. Vaush asked detailed questions about the mechanics of how a horse would have sex with a human. In 2019, shortly before the Pastel leaks emerged, Vaush stated in Discord that bestiality should be legal. He for some reason argued that since animals can't give consent, that consent shouldn't be a relevant talking point, and therefore it shouldn't even be considered a crime at all. He also stated that bestiality isn't that serious of a crime or even animal abuse in his view. What a guy. Could you imagine having this level of receipts for your love for horse penis? Because this is a lot, okay? You've seen it scroll. There's over 70 messages, and that's only a few years on one Discord. This guy has an obsession. It's wild.
When I say horsecock, though, I mean horsecock. Because people, and this is one of those, it's one of those, everyone shirks now, but if a human had a horse penis, just somehow, whatever, people would be lining up to fuck them. And not just any people, the people who are into that kind of thing. And those people are the kind of people who spend 6 hours a day fucking gaping their own ass to be ready in case they one day find a human with a horse dick. You're at the creme de la creme right there. You're at the top. In terms of sex partner quality. So I feel like it would actually kind of fucking rock, because maybe only 1% of people can take you, but those people will live to take you. They'll travel across the world. Chicks will buy you dinner. They'll fucking sit on your side of the booth so they can have their hand on your fucking 12-inch flaccid dick.
The catboy that Nick Fuentes just spent his time with is positioning a horsecock dildo in front of his gaping mouth, which has a sort of a tube drawing down from it, which from my experience, which is considerable, is one that you use a syringe pump, to expel cum through. Fake cum, of course. So yeah, horsecock dildo, man after my own heart.
Leave me alone!
Cracker ban. On a Twitch stream, Vaush called someone a cracker. This is considered a slur by Twitch, and they gave him an indefinite ban as a result. Wait, can I say that on YouTube? Well, you'd think Vaush would get a pass being a fellow white. Many theorize that the ban was the work of the Taliban. Also to note, Hamas Piker got banned for the use of the word as well.
Popular live streamers Hassan Piker and Vaush have both been banned for saying cracker. That's right, cracker, which apparently, according to Twitch, is a racial slur worthy of a ban.
Old Vaush. Vaush, when he first started his channel, then known as Irish Laddie, was much more abrasive with his rhetoric. Typically, when clips of Vaush are spread to make him look bad, it's old Vaush. Throughout the early days, Vaush built his brand as a provocative master debater who would take on extreme positions to get reactions and attention. This included numerous clips where he would defend or downplay serious crimes, or make shocking comparisons and inflammatory statements. Vaush would make a video to talk about his old persona, and he would say that he'd used it deliberately to gain traction, but later abandoned it after he realized how bad it made him look.
At what point do we just get to shoot them? And I'm not being facetious there.
We'll start with the absolute worst of it, the monstrously stupid argument that I made way back when I first started streaming that has since haunted me and irreparably tarnished my reputation.
In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal. Actual child pornography. How's that for a hot fucking take? Now, to clarify on this take, as I feel it necessary to do so, we do not, in this country, typically criminalize people who have procured media or resources which were the product of abuse. It is not illegal to own necklaces that have slave diamonds or whatever. What are they called? Yeah, blood diamonds. Yeah, all of our clothes produced by sweatshops, our computers, the silicon and lithium mined from literal fucking slaves. In our society, we have already deemed that people are not responsible for the mechanisms by which the media they consume and the content they engage with are produced. You like that argument? Ooh, you like that? You like that moral culpability? You're all worse than fucking CP owners, and I am too. Do you like that? No ethical consumption under capitalism. Shit sucks, right? But if we accept that argument for slave labor, then we definitely have to accept it for child pornography.
I have a very low opinion of the me in a lot of these older clips. It just makes me look fucking stupid, to be honest. As it turns out, when you're talking to other people and making arguments about ethical labor or labor laws or whatever, engaging in this kind of argument doesn't make people want to, they don't get like blustered and confront you in a debate about labor laws. It makes them want to call you a pedophile, obviously.
We've all jerked at Delali at some point or another. We have at some point in our lives been going fucking crazy on some hentai site, and we've been fucking stroking as hard and fast as we can, and then after we nut, we go back, look over our history tab, and we go like, oh, geez. Oh, boy. Some of these girls looked pretty young.
Yeah, this one definitely sounds rougher than the last two clips, but it's, it's a bit. It's a joke, a bad joke. I can explain it. I don't think that'll make it any funnier. The intended comedy element of an indiscriminate whirlwind masturbator being used to draw attention to a problem, that problem being the ubiquity of lolicon in hentai sites. I don't really know how anyone could get like a serious vibe from that, like there's any kind of like, grave point being made. Again, it's not a funny joke at all. I mean, I cringe looking at it. It's great evidence against me if the point that people are trying to make is that I was or indeed still am cringe. So a point to their favor on that one, I guess.
Vegan gains. Vaush cited his debate with YouTuber Vegan Gains as a turning point where he realized his provocative rhetoric was making him look, and to put it in his own words, fucking stupid. He made claims that after seeing external confirmation of how bad his argument appeared, he stopped using child-related topics as debate tactics. However, his critics note that the problematic statements continued after this supposed revelation.
Okay, so if we were to turn So if in a hypothetical reality where we were using black people as meat, what would you say then?
We always gotta get so grim.
No. Let's cover that.
Like if it was the same thing, like with animals.
Yeah, if we had fields of black people, and once they reached a certain age, once they were nice and big and meaty, we killed and ate them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still buy that fucking. I'd still buy that dark meat from the supermarket. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. I think that animals are morally equivocal to people. Yeah, I'd be a hypocrite if I said otherwise. White people too. Get that fresh, both cuts. That feel when in my moral system, zoophilia is morally neutral. In most people's moral systems, zoophilia is morally neutral. Guys, here's a hot take. If you don't believe in vegan ethics, if you don't think that we need to put a stop to the meat eating industry, you should have literally no problem with zoophilia. If you unironically think that it's okay to murder them by the billions, but it's not okay to fuck them, then like you've got some big brain worms.
Unfortunately, 5 years back, it took me a little while to catch on to how fucking stupid and self-destructive my edgy argument was, safe within the bubble of my then tiny community, where the only eyes I had on me were the eyes of my, 100 or so committed fans or whatever back then. I wasn't really seeing any negative consequences from employing this rhetorical strategy. I mean, it would bait arguments from chat, of course, like I got those disagreements, but that was what I was looking for. So I didn't interpret that as a sign of the argument itself being flawed. It wasn't until I brought it up in a debate with Vegan Gains, a far larger YouTuber, that I realized how people outside of my community bubble perceived the argument.
Pedophiles, right, who buy child pornography, would you say they should not be held responsible for doing that?
Yes.
Really? Even though they're directly supporting child rape?
Yeah, I think it's hypocritical. Because I bought my computer and the silicon in it was farmed in Africa by slaves. If I can do that and that's legal and no one's going to call me out on my shit, then yeah, I have to be consistent in that respect.
Okay, look, I think there's levels to this. So I wouldn't equate buying a computer to buying child pornography. I mean, it's in order to pretty much have a job anymore, you need a computer. So do you really think it's reasonable to equate something like buying something that might cause some amount of cruelty exploitation in the world that you need for your job just to be able to not be homeless, to something that you're buying purely for very shallow personal pleasure that causes horrible, irreparable damage to somebody lifelong?
I mean, we can actually partition it out. I don't know how much child pornography goes on the market these days. I haven't exactly checked, but I'd be willing to bet that the total amount of suffering that goes into the child slaves that mine out like the silicon in Africa, in terms of me supporting that industry, I mean, that's pretty bad. And I didn't have to buy a computer this big. I could have bought something smaller. I could have bought a little Chromebook. I don't wonder how many more hours slaves had to mine up that silicon to justify me being able to own this. But I'd go with it too. Clothing I wear put together by sweatshop workers, glasses, like everything. And if you wanted to step beyond the slavery element, like all of the stuff that I buy, it goes towards corporations. I believe that wage slavery is unethical, the exploitation of workers, and everything you buy contributes to that, unless you're buying from a co-op.
Okay, well, look, there are, I think we could both agree that reducing suffering in the world is a good thing, correct? Even if you can't get rid of all of it at once?
It's always a good thing to reduce suffering, yes.
It's insane to me that I needed that kind of external confirmation to understand how bad it looked, how bad the argument was. But I have a very low opinion of me in a lot of these older clips. It just makes me look fucking stupid, to be honest. As it turns out, when you're talking to other people and making arguments about ethical labor or labor laws or whatever, engaging in this kind of argument doesn't make people want to, they don't get blustered and confront you in a debate about labor laws. It makes them want to call you a pedophile, obviously. So yeah, that's the explanation for the argument. Like I said before, it does reflect really poorly on me, but only in regard to my intelligence and character, not any sort of paraphilia.
BreadTubers. This generally refers to a loose group of creators that espouse left-wing ideas in their content.
If it's worth anything, the moderators over on the BreadTube subreddit have long since banned my videos from being posted there, because it caused too much fighting.
Noah Sampson, being a part of the BreadTubers, made a video critiquing Debate Bros and included Vaush within that, and admitted that it was a little more antagonistic than it should have been, and included misinformation. Vaush retaliated with a correction video, eventually leading to a stream with Samson where he redacted some of the information he said about Vaush.
Okay, first off, I just want to preface this by saying I was watching a bit of the stream, and I think I definitely came off much more antagonistic than I intended to. I tried to sprinkle sort of my deferential ideas about debate streaming throughout throughout the video. Earlier on there was more, but I didn't also apply that for a lot of the analysis. So I just want to I guess upfront say the claim that don't watch debate streams is I probably don't stand by that as a whole. That's just basically how I articulated.
You made a subsequent video in which you pulled away from some of the more open endorsements of myself. And
well, real quick, can I mention, so in that so in my follow video, yeah, I basically I remember the quote that was used a bunch was, I was like, Vaush is good, actually. That was what I said in the initial video, right? And then in the follow-up video, so one of the things I remember that caused me to do that was one of the claims that I said when discussing you in the initial video was that you had been banned from Twitch for saying fuck Israel. That was my claim about why you had been banned. And essentially that was what you'd said, but the actual clip you had said there would be more peace in the Middle East if Israel was wiped off the map with a nuke, which you did say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, glass. There you go. So and so me presenting that as you saying fuck Israel was dishonest.
RedTubers seem to have a tendency to go after Vaush for some reason despite sharing similar and often aligning views. One RedTuber that he doesn't agree with specifically might be Thought Slime.
In the West today, male-female power dynamics are really messy.
Pointing out that this is unfair is always going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to make some men very mad because they like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They don't care.
Okay, so right off the bat, this right here is unironic, anti-progressive propaganda masquerading as honest, straightforward political analysis. We're not talking about taking anything from guys. You don't have to take anything from them. They're not going to lose anything. This is like the argument they make. It's like, well, did you know by elevating black people, you're actually hurting white people? Well, no, it's not a zero-sum game. I don't know why they... Why will lefties say, dude, it's not a zero-sum game when they're talking broadly, but then privately they're like, yeah, it is a zero-sum game. I don't get it. Why? You don't need to say that. All I'm talking about is appealing to men and taking their issues seriously and uplifting them on those issues, not in ways that give them more social power over women, but rather on insecurities and concerns and life advice stuff they have, which usually serves as an entry point to right-wing politics.
ContraPoints also beefs with Vaush and claims that he is a trans rights grifter.
Confirmed to me that Vaush doesn't actually care about advocating for trans people.
Man, that's I mean, charitably, that's quite a reach.
And just uses trans rights as a pretext to act like a fucking dingus.
First of all, and I mean this not at all as a joke, I act like a dingus whether or not I'm fronting trans rights as an excuse. I clearly don't need an excuse. Second of all, that's pretty dumb. I've done literally hundreds and thousands of hours of specific dedicated, trans positive, trans advocacy content. Yeah, I've made significantly more content to that effect than she can, probably largely because of the live stream content schedule, but also just because I care a lot about it. I get emails all the time from people saying hey, your videos help me realize that I'm trans. Your videos help me realize how to argue for my identity against my family, against my parents, my siblings, my friends. You help me change the mind of this person or the other. I don't go a day without getting a DM or an email of somebody saying that, or multiple, It just comes off as so remarkably uncharitable, especially since even after all the ridiculously bad behavior Contra herself is engaged in, I've never you might notice the past video or the past minute and a half of this video is her publicly shaming me. The difference is that I can acknowledge that, and she's choosing to go over year-old drama. I get it's just kind of dishonest to go unlike other people, I would never shame. Now let's drag. She literally with the microphone, the drama alert or whatever. Yeah. Boss, she's not sending her audience to you. Phoenix, where do you think the death threats that I get come from when they come from the left? Do you think somebody with 1.6 million subscribers dedicating multiple minutes of a video when she hasn't released one in a year to talking about how I'm a grifter who doesn't actually care about trans rights and exclusively uses trans rights as an excuse to front misogyny, do you think that doesn't like have effects on my life? Do you think these people don't then go on to like hate fester or message me? Do you think it doesn't affect, like, it's public shaming? It's just, you know, she's just not being honest about the fact that it is?
Okay, buddy, Vaush. A subreddit dedicated to Vaush memes, and also they tend to call him a pedo a lot. Vaush likes to occasionally stream himself going over the subreddit as well.
Holy shit. I've seen this image a million times, but this really is a crazy dumpster. Holy shit. This is what I mean with taking estrogen. Do you see this little bump right here? Okay? This is the slut bump, all right? If somebody has this little bump right here, it means they crave cum. It's true. That's them growing the uterus, right? Vaush is no Nazi, and I know better than anyone. And then this is a clip, I recognize it, of me saying, maybe the Nazis had a point. Everyone pray for Danil. This is us channeling our prayers for Danil. We are giving him our energy. Fucking ridiculous milkers. And then tweeted, titties really do be squishing. Because they do. Yeah, this person does indeed breast boobily down the stairs.
X skills me. This refers to a Destiny community member that Vaush debated back in the day on Destiny's stream. As Vaush debates go, it was pretty entertaining, as depending on how you looked at it, he ended up vaguely threatening this guy.
I have an interesting mention from you where you say that I have all of the bullet attracting characteristics of a human. Do you remember saying that about me?
Yes, I stand by.
To be clear, yeah. So to be clear, as chat, Irish Laddie has basically said he would give me the bullet in his real world. So while he's here whining about me dialoguing treating him, we're coming into this with him basically saying he would kill me under his political system.
Okay,
So,
okay. All right, okay. For one, I didn't say I would do it. I'm lazy, okay? Let's not assign that responsibility to me. But would you be killed generally? Ooh, I don't know. You make a solid case every time you open your mouth. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of that statement at all.
Right, but here's the problem is that I'm having a serious discussion here. I really believe capitalism is the best system for what you claim to care about. And here you are saying people like me get murdered. Like, why would I...
We've gotten pretty non sequitur now, okay? Chill.
It's not a non sequitur. He says I don't understand his ideology now, but he's advocated for actually having me murdered. So
well, but if his ideology would say that people like you are exploitive to such a level that it's enforcing inherently immoral applications onto society or whatever, then I mean his thing would logically follow, right?
Like don't say that like I'm strawmanning his worldview when his worldview includes the execution of me. So don't I have some right to automatically you
haven't strawmanned me in that regard. No, I expect you to act in your own personal interest, which is to defend capitalism to your dying breath. I don't fault you for that. But what I do fault you for, however, is acting as though you're mounting the substantive critique of my ideology when we haven't even begun to discuss what sort of alternatives I would offer to the problems posed by capitalism.
Well, I know what entails killing me. So what else would you after you kill me?
No,
what would happen, Irish
killing you would be for fun, okay?
Yeah. So what happens after I get murdered?
I'm sorry, you're right. I should tone it down.
Kiwi Farms. Vaush was a large voice in Keffels' Drop Kiwi Farms campaign, which aimed to get Kiwi Farms kicked off the DDoS protection service Cloudflare. Vaush would draw a line between free speech and organized harm, arguing that Kiwi Farms is an example of the latter, and therefore it should be taken down and it wouldn't be constituted as censorship. At first, Cloudflare wanted to stay neutral, but apparently Vaush's argument that Cloudflare, in its neutrality, makes them complicit in swatting, and it worked, because Cloudflare would end up blocking Kiwi Farms.
This is a machine that was built up formally against 8chan and activates anytime the cathedral wants to test the new fronts of its censorship. I think it's funny that he's complaining that the attacks against him are baseless when the previous example he's citing is 8chan, the child pornography site. It is a massive amalgamation of various interests. I am one person. The financial limitations aren't even the real problem. The problem is I'm powerless alone. There's no amount of money I can throw to convince people to be brave and be free. This is the reality of our country. Keep in mind, this is a site that hosts like terrorists who exist exclusively to harass, dox, swat, threaten, make bomb threats against, and try to organize violence against people. Like that. Like any claims about free speech here are invalid. All of these things are crimes. So even the whole like, well, I think only the law should dictate. Well, this is illegal. You know, it's illegal basically everywhere. It's a neo-Nazi site that hosts domestic terrorists to harass minorities. That's it.
Poppy. In 2017, when Vaush was still going by Irish Laddie, he was involved in a controversy with a minor that went by the name of Poppy.
Why is it shit?
I'm tired. I'm sad. I have a headache. I'm hungry.
I don't know how many of those things I can address, but I'll try, in order. First, I suggest adhering to a strict sleep schedule. It really helps with chronic fatigue. Second, remember that in all the times you could have been born into, you are living in an era of relative prosperity, and you always have the capacity to better your living situation. The future is full of potential. Also, when you're 18, you can see my dick, and it's pretty rad.
What? Oh. Excuse me?
Yep.
As for the headache,
bro, you cannot just move on past that.
As for the headache, I suggest laying down. Great advice, man.
As for hunger, I mean, you
gotta eat, man.
Yeah, we didn't.
Dumbass.
My God.
He really thought he nestled that just kind of craftily in there.
Holy shit. That's like the most incriminating sentence you can do, because you're confirming that they're under 18. And
he would later admit fault during his stream with Destiny, where leaked DMs between himself and another community member mentioned before, Pastel, were discussed, revealing an inappropriate conversation that contributed to his early controversial reputation. But then there's other messages that show that he doesn't have remorse, and many believe that the change of the name from Irish Laddie to Vaush was to avoid this exact controversy.
In late 2017, I was a member of a Discord channel which belonged to Destiny, a streamer on Twitch, and in that Discord channel, I became friends with somebody named Poppy. Poppy was known for her hot takes. I had some hot takes of my own. I thought we could form a friendship. And so we did. We talked for a period of several months, and over the course of that prolonged conversation, we discussed a great many things, often mutually. We discussed, of course, politics, our personal lives, our respective mental illnesses, sexuality, flirting, dating, all that stuff. And I thought at the time that these were perfectly normal, healthy conversations. We had a falling out around, I think, late 2017 or early 2018. I don't quite remember. It was some dumb argument about feminism or our opinions on problem. I don't remember exactly, but it's unrelated to the drama. But after we had that falling out, Poppy started accusing me quite publicly in that Discord channel of having sexually harassed her over the course of our friendship, over the course of the few months. This was a shock to me at the time, to say the least, because I didn't feel I had engaged in any sexual harassment. But things got quite heated quite quickly. Many of the people on the Discord took sides, myself or her. We said a great many nasty things back and forth at one another. But ultimately, nothing really came of it. And after a short while, things returned more or less to normal. In fact, a little while after that, Poppy and I were able to talk with one another without any shit-throwing on either side. But we never quite overcame that mutual antagonism, which arose from her accusations. So that's that. Screenshots were collected and brought to the attention of the aforementioned streamer, Destiny. And this then became a very, very public spectacle. Destiny showed those screenshots on stream, and I had an opportunity, very briefly, to go on there and defend myself. I felt as though the screenshots did not fully contextualize the conversation that I had with Poppy, which is why down in the comments I'm linking the full, unedited, except for docs be removed. I mean, you don't want my address, right? That's why I am posting the full unedited logs down below for scrutiny, and I invite your gaze. But nonetheless, I was brought on to Destiny's stream to explain myself, and I did a, to put not too fine a point on it, very bad job explaining myself. I was nervous. So, I would like to take a second shot at explaining myself here. Here's what I won't be addressing. I'm not going to be addressing some of the more outlandish extrapolations people have made about my behavior based on the logs. There are some people who are saying shit like me getting into leftism 6 or 7 years ago has all been part of a long-standing ploy to get left-leaning people to lower their guard around me so that I could one day message them and work my way into their news. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I got into leftism to smash chuds. So, that's what I won't be addressing. What I will be addressing is the conversation that I had with Poppy a year and a half ago. It had been a while since I had looked over those logs. I mean, I don't regularly go over old conversations that I had with people who are no longer my friends. And the last memory that I had of those logs was the one which I had when Poppy had first accused me of sexually harassing her. That is to say, one of indignation and rebuke. But since then, I have had more time to look at those logs. I have grown somewhat as a person over the past year and a half, and I feel differently about those logs now and about my behavior.
CP Defender. Many speculate that Vaush is a pedo. Why, you might ask? Because of all the things that he's done and said over the years. He did all that defending of CP ownership just to end up with a bunch of lolly stuff on his computer. Seems coincidental, right?
Wait, how old is Cora? Cora's 18, right? Pretty sure I've drawn Cora. Big ass titty. 16? Oh, I was joking, of course. That was a joke. Please, right now, uncuck your dumb shit libcuck fucking SJW brains and recognize this empirically correct fact that I am about to spit. It is possible for an adult and a child to have a sexual relationship and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well. That is possible. Do you believe porn, which includes bestiality, increases the prevalence of zoophiles? Possibly, but I still don't care. I still think that, like, zoophile porn, like drawn stuff, it should be 100% legal. In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal. Actual child pornography. How's that for a hot fucking take? Now, to clarify on this take, as I feel it necessary to do so, we do not, in this country, typically criminalize people who have procured media or resources which were the product of abuse. It is not illegal to own necklaces that have slave diamonds or whatever. What are they called? Yeah, blood diamonds. Yeah, all of our clothes produced by sweatshops, our computers, the silicon and lithium mined from literal fucking slaves. In our society, we have already deemed that people are not responsible for the mechanisms by which the media they consume and the content they engage with are produced. No. All you're about to make some really dumb fuck arguments. Because you encourage the production of porn? Yeah, and you encourage the slave mining that goes into blood diamonds when you buy the necklaces. You encourage the mining of and the slaves that mine the lithium when you purchase electronics, okay? It is the same thing. Don't come at me with your dumb fuck feels arguments, okay? If you feel you have a cogent argument, levy it my way, but I'm not interested in listening to your fucking feels on the issue. Vaush, bro, you're gonna need a pause. Whoop, look who just got banned. Oh, look who gets fucking banned for saying stupid shit in my channel. I don't tolerate that shit here, nope. Ooh, bruh, you have a point that I can't really argue against, but bruh, you should take a pause, bruh. Ooh, bruh, yikes, bruh, don't like that, bruh. Ooh, bruh. Ooh, bad look, bruh. Big oof, bruh. Fifi bad, feelings hurt. Thank you, Anarcho-Tac. I'm objectively right on this. They're morally identical. The difference being, of course, that there are far more people caught up in the slave labor and exploitation of the developing world than there are children we rape. So if anything, owning child pornography is probably a hell of a lot more ethical than wearing the t-shirts on your backs right now. You like that argument? Ooh, you like that? You like that moral culpability? You're all worse than fucking CP owners, and I am too. Do you like that? No ethical consumption under capitalism. Shit sucks, right? But if we accept that argument for slave labor, then we definitely have to accept it for child pornography.
Pre-colonial Hawaii. In a 2018 post, Vaush discussed how in pre-colonial Hawaii there was, quote, no evidence of child abuse, despite a history of adults engaging sexually with children. He appeared to be suggesting that this is an example of how cultural context could change the understanding of such relationships, a deeply problematic take aligning with his other comments about child-adult relationships. Nepo baby. Vaush's dad is a veteran Hollywood VFX artist with a huge body of work. He's been involved in many movies, and to just list a few, Matrix Reloaded, Sharknado 5, and Mega Shark vs. Crocosaurus. It's made some fans speculate that his dad's Hollywood connections could have led to his streaming success, but it seems like a pretty bad take since we all know that Vaush got to start with Destiny, and Sharknado money only gets you so far. This refers to an alternate Twitter account operated by Vaush. He was known to at least operate one that was known for liking questionable images, including photos of young-looking girls with their faces blacked out for reasons he couldn't explain. This account provided additional evidence concerning content consumption patterns separate from his main public persona. Pet gecko comments. In 2017, Vaush made comments about his pet gecko that were difficult to determine whether he was joking or making a serious statement. Given the extensive documentation and his interest in bestiality with horses, these comments couldn't be dismissed as easily isolated incidents. It seems obvious that this guy shouldn't be allowed to have a pet. Fed plant. Vaush is on the record saying he was an informant when he was a part of Antifa, which lead many to speculate his relationship with three-letter agencies. Not sure what his mission is, maybe pro-lolly or horse propaganda?
Yeah, the Patriot Front is a thing. It didn't come up out of nowhere. I mean, it's new, but there are a lot of white nationalist orgs that are new because, you know, Charlottesville and splitting and all that. Big old wiki article. Activities. Oh, yeah, here we go. More than 100 members held a rally in downtown DC chanting Reclaim America. I mean, I don't even think there was any violence there, but yeah. Now, are a large number of the people in Patriot Front informants? Almost certainly. That's going to happen to any extremist group. Almost certainly that is the case. I will not argue against that. But just because almost every extremist group has informants, that doesn't mean that the extremist group isn't a real extremist group. Like, Those aren't mutually exclusive, right? You know, like the KKK has informants in it, absolutely. Literally, the Black Panther Party had informants in it. That's how they got Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton's advisors had informants in them. You know, does that mean that the entire Black Panther Party was like a Fed op? Like, you could say that about literally anything. You know, there are informants everywhere. I'm an informant. Why do you think I did Antifa work back in Santa Monica? You know, yeah, I was ratting out names. Absolutely, we've all been informants. You know, yeah, CIA asset Vaush. True. Oh my God, he admits it.
Extreme Dad. There was a member of Vaush's community named Extreme Dad. He became the target of accusations that he was attempting to groom minors. The allegations stemmed from him talking to a community member who was posing as a 14-year-old to catch predators. However, the full Discord logs show Extreme Dad immediately told the person off and blocked them once they were aware of their claimed age. Despite the evidence that exonerated Extreme Dad, Vaush would publicly claim the opposite in a live stream watched by thousands, showing only selective screenshots that made Extreme Dad look guilty while hiding context that shows his innocence. In the chat, Extreme Dad asked why Vaush was lying about him. Vaush responded further by making more accusations.
Oh wait, speaking of fucking children, hey Extreme Dad, how's your life been going lately? Any bites? Oh really, you're both gonna come at me from... Wow, I didn't do that very well. Extreme Dad exposed stream when? I can't do an exposed stream with every fucking rando who wants to fuck children. Extreme Dad, just to clarify, just so everybody knows, we have a person in our Discord server who, occasionally, when they feel as though there might be creepos around, pretends to be 14 to see if they can bait any creepos. Doing God's work, right? I actually know this person. They're like 27. I've talked to them for quite a while, so not actually 14. Anyhow, there are logs of this person saying, I am 14, and Extreme Dad being like, I can be your daddy. I'm here for this shit. I want to do this perfectly. And continuing to deliberately flirt with a person who was posing as 14. And this was after, and this was made known only after Extreme Dad got banned from Destiny's Discord server for also apparently flirting with a 14-year-old. That's a lie, Hannah. Extreme Dad, when there's smoke, there's fire, and we literally have screen caps of you doing it. Why lie to yourself? Extreme Dad, why can't you just come out and say, I'm a proud ephebophile, and I want to absolutely clap some underage cheeks? Normally, I would assign a little bit more charitability to you, but besides you being a generally insane fascist, you also have attempted to dox Pig Puncher. So, like, I don't understand why. Yeah, Extreme Dad, more like Extreme Daddy. Yeah, fuck you, Eli. Nah, nice try, Pig Puncher, but no. Extreme Dad, what truth are you telling? Also, should I ban you from this? I don't want you like courting any kids here. We have like a DM system over this website. How many chicks are you messaging right now, Extreme Dad? I know a few of them that are underage. I'm not giving you their names. Extreme Dad, why would you lie and say that they messaged you and you told them to get the fuck out when there are screen caps of that not happening? You know when you told them to get the fuck out? When you realized that you were being lied to about them being 14. You were like, yes, I can't wait to slurp up the delicious nectar of this underage milady. And then you realized that she was 27 and you were like, I'm not a fucking necrophile. I'm getting out of here. Please show the screen cap. No, no, no. I mean, I could. Hyena has them, I don't. They said they were over 14 over voice chat. After that, he engaged in DM flirting. Yeah, where he talked about if he could be her daddy, and she was like, you don't mind that I'm young? And he was like, no, I don't mind. And after he got banned from Destiny's Discord for the same thing. Hey, Extreme Dad, what did you go to jail for? Why do so many fascists like kids? Because fascists are entranced with power dynamics. And sexual interest is nothing more than pathologized politics. Yeah, fascists love power and will scrape it by over anyone they can, even if it's a little girl. God. Oh yeah, Extreme Dad, said he would break all the chairs in the world to sit on her face. To a 14-year-old. Damn. What if some of those chairs belonged to 13-year-olds who would have, upon seeing you not break their chair, offered up a crumb of pussy? Wait, you can't just do that! Just do it. That's actually not a bad explanation, Zerger. I'd heard that BDSM is popular amongst leftists because power dynamics are a taboo to leftists, while right-wingers prefer infidelity porn due to their love of family values and the taboo of asserting those values. 100%. It's actually a good explanation, Zerger. Well, Breadbish, this was after Ciancius was saying in a voice chat that she's 14. With other people were there to verify this, by the way. They don't call me daddy for no reason. I'd break every chair in the world just so you have to sit on my face. What's DDLG? That means daddy dom little girl. You're on your own. You're okay with the fact I'm younger than daddy? Sure. Not admitting anything? Extreme Dad, this isn't a court of law. Everyone here already thinks you're a pedophile. Why not just own it? And just Extreme Dad, I feel like the lying is like makes it worse. Like if you just stood up and you were like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I do go for that sweet teen pussy, and then dropped shit and left the chat, I mean, no one would like you, but there would be a certain level of respect for your bravado, I think. I think I can speak for chat when I say that. Yeah, I'm giving him his kink juice. And respect? I mean, I'd prefer a truthful pedophile to a lying pedophile, but... God damn it. We gotta do this. We're so close. This is just a really difficult segment.
Extreme Dad was an active member of Vaush's Discord. That should already tell you that he was a bit of a socially weird guy, and he came off to Vaush's audience as a conservative.
You know, these people tend to be individuals who haven't experienced life, who haven't been out in the real world and really done anything. And, you know, they're in here telling me and criticizing me for my beliefs.
Dad thinks a wall is a good answer for immigration.
You know, there's certainly a crisis down on the southern border, and that there's no easy answers. It's a nuanced and complex problem. You know, there's nothing that's going to solve everything right away. You know, it's going to be a crisis continuing on, but a wall is a good place to start. You know, a wall is a barrier between us and them.
Remember, conservatives are all Nazi fascists, so the other social rejects in Vaush's Discord took it upon themselves to frame Dad as a pedo. Life ruination's okay if you're a conservative. A known 27-year-old woman in Vaush's community tried to flirt with Dad in DMs. They talked kinky. Then she tries to get him. I look like most 14-year-olds, haha. You okay with that? Dad responds, if you're under the age of 18, I wouldn't be okay with a sexual relationship with you. She says, I like sexual relationships. How old are you? 14. And Dad destroys her with, well then I suggest you seek some constructive lifestyle choices and spend less time exploiting other people with your fake ass bullshit. She acts confused and he says, this is the way people act over there, huh? Yeet, and then he blocked her. Dad handled it like a champ, right? Well, that didn't stop Vaush's community, his girlfriend, and Vaush himself from running with the narrative that this guy's a pedo.
What seems to have come as a direct result of Vaush and his girlfriend Hyena spreading these false allegations against Extreme Dad, members of his community found out where he worked and got him fired. When he found a second job, they repeated the harassment campaign and got him fired again. This, as you would imagine, effectively ruined Extreme Dad's life based on accusations that Vaush likely knew were false, given the available evidence. There are many theories on why Vaush went on this witch hunt. There are many theories on why he went after Extreme Dad, and a lot of it revolves around him playing cover for his own urges. So this was our Vaush Iceberg. Comment down below what you think we missed. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you like videos like this. We have other icebergs we've done, so check out the playlist. And check out the podcast we do every week. If you made it this far in the video and haven't subscribed and commented and liked yet, quit edging me, because I can only wait so long. Please, do it. Please. Thank you.